could have happened to make them like this? And why are they so late? Wondered Eragon. He remembered the traders as being full of good cheer, but there was none of that now. Garrow pushed down the street, searching for Murloc, a trader who specialized in odd trinkets and pieces of jewelry. They found him behind a booth, displaying brooches to a group of women. As each new piece was revealed, exclamation of admiration followed. Eragon guessed that more than a few purses would soon be depleted. Murloc seemed to flourish and grow every time his wares were complimented. He wore a goatee, held himself with ease, and seemed to regard the rest of the world with slight contempt. The excited group prevented Garrow and Eragon from getting near the trader, so they settled on a step and waited. As soon as Murloc was unoccupied, they hurried over. "And what might you sirs want to look at?" asked Murloc. "An amulet or trinket for a lady?" With a twirl, he pulled out a delicately carved silver rose of excellent workmanship. The polished metal caught Eragon's attention, and he eyed it appreciatively. The trader continued, "Not even 3 crowns, so it has come all the way from the famed craftsman of Bellatona." Garrow spoke in a quiet voice. "We aren't looking to buy, but to sell." Murloc immediately covered the rose and looked at them with new interest. "I see. Maybe if this item is of any value, would you like to trade it for 1 or 2 of these exquisite pieces?" He paused for a moment while Eragon and his uncle stood uncomfortably, then continued, "You did bring the object of consideration." "We have it, but we would rather show it to you elsewhere," said Garrow in a firm voice. Murloc raised an eyebrow, but spoke smoothly. "In that case, let me invite you to my tent." This is fun. He gathered up his wares and gently laid them in an iron-bound chest, which he locked. Then he ushered them up the street and into the temporary camp. They wound between the wagons to a tent removed from the rest of the traders. It was crimson at the top and sable at the bottom, with thin triangles of color stabbing into each other. Murloc untied the opening and swung the flap to one side. Small trinkets and strange pieces of furniture, such as a round bed and 3 seats, carved from tree stumps, filled the tent. A gnarled dagger with a ruby on the pommel rested on a white cushion. Murloc closed the flap and turned to them. "Please, seat yourselves." When they had, he said, "Now show me why we are meeting in private." Eragon unwrapped the stone and set it between the 2 men. Murloc reached for it with a gleam in his eye, then stopped and asked, "May I?" When Garrow indicated his approval, Murloc picked it up. He put the stone in his lap and reached to one side for a thin box. Opened, it revealed a large set of copper scales, which he set on the ground. After weighing the stone, he scrutinized its surface under a jeweler's glass, tapped it gently with a wooden mallet, and drew the point of a tiny clear stone over it. He measured its length and diameter, then recorded the figures on a slate. He considered the results for a while. "Do you know what this is worth?" "No," admitted Garrow. His cheek twitched, and he shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Murloc grimaced. "Unfortunately, neither do I, but I can tell you this much. The white veins are the same material as the blue that surrounds them, only a different color. What the material might be, though, I haven't a clue. It's harder than any rock I have seen, harder even than diamond. Whoever shaped it used tools I have never seen, or magic. Also, it's hollow. What? Exclaimed Garrow. An irritated edge crept into Murlock's voice. Did you ever hear a rock sound like this? He grabbed the dagger from the cushion and slapped the stone with the flat of the blade. A pure note filled the air, then faded away smoothly. Eragon was alarmed, afraid that the stone had been damaged. Murlock tilted the stone toward them. You will find no scratches or blemishes where the dagger struck. I doubt I could do anything to harm this stone, even if I took a hammer to it. Garrow crossed his arms with a reserved expression. A wall of silence surrounded him. Eragon was puzzled. I knew that the stone appeared in the spine through magic, but made by magic? What for and why? He blurted, But what is it worth? I can't tell you that, said Murlock in a pained voice. I'm sure there are people who would pay dearly to have it, but none of them are in Carvahol. You would have to go to the southern to find a buyer. This is a curiosity for most people, not an item to spend money on when practical things are needed. Garrow stared at the tent ceiling like a gambler calculating the odds. Will you buy it? The trader answered instantly, It's not worth the risk. I might be able to find a wealthy buyer during my spring travels, but I can't be certain. Even if I did, you won't be paid until I return next year. No, you would have to find someone else to trade with. I am curious, however. Why did you insist on talking to me in private? Eragon put the stone away before answering. Because... He glanced at the man, wondering if he would explode like Sloane. I found this in the spine, and folks around here don't like that. Murlock gave him a startled look. Do you know why my fellow merchants and I were late this year? Eragon shook his head. Our wanderings have been dogged with misfortune. Chaos seems to rule Alagasia. We cannot avoid illness, attacks, and the most cursed black luck, because the Varden's attacks have increased. Galbatorix has forced cities to send more soldiers to the borders, men who are needed to combat the Urgles. The brutes have been migrating southeast toward the Haderach Desert. No one knows why, and it won't concern us, except that they're passing through populated areas. They've been spotted on roads and near cities. Worst of all are reports of a shade, though the stories are unconfirmed. Not many people survive such an encounter. Why haven't we heard of this? Yes, cried Eragon. Because, said Murlock grimly, it only began a few months ago. Whole villages have been forced to move because Urgles destroy their fields and starvation threatens. Nonsense, growled Garrow. We haven't seen any Urgles. The only one round here has his horns mounted in Morn's Tavern. Murlock arched an eyebrow. Maybe so, but this is a small village hidden by mountains. It's not surprising that you've escaped notice. However, I wouldn't expect that to last. I only mention this because strange things are happening here as well, if you found such a stone in the spine. With that sobering statement, he bid them farewell with a bow and a slight smile. Garo headed back to Carvajal with Eragon trailing behind. "What do you think?" asked Eragon. "I'm going to get more information before I make up my mind. Take the stone back to the wagon, then do what you want. I'll meet you for dinner at Horst's." Eragon dodged through the crowd and happily dashed back to the wagon. Trading would take his uncle hours, time that he planned to enjoy fully. He hid the stone under the bags, then set out into town with a cocky stride. He walked from one booth to another, evaluating the goods with a buyer's eye, despite his meager supply of coins. When he talked with the merchants, they confirmed what Murloc had said about the instability of Alagasia. Over and over, the message was repeated. Last year's security has deserted us, new dangers have appeared, and nothing is safe. Later in the day, he bought 3 sticks of malt candy and a small piping hot cherry pie. The hot food felt good after hours of standing in the snow. He licked the sticky syrup from his fingers regretfully, wishing for more, then sat on the edge of a porch and nibbled a piece of candy. 2 boys from Carvajal wrestled nearby, but he felt no inclination to join them. As the day descended into late afternoon, the traders took their business into people's homes. Eragon was impatient for evening, when the troubadours would come out to tell stories and perform tricks. He loved hearing about magic, gods, and, if they were especially lucky, the dragon riders. Carvajal had its own storyteller, Brom, a friend of Eragon's. But his tales grew old over the years, whereas the troubadours always had new ones that he listened to eagerly. Eragon had just broken off an icicle from the underside of the porch when he spotted Slow nearby. The butcher had not seen him, so Eragon ducked his head and bolted around a corner towards Morn's tavern. The inside was hot and filled with greasy smoke from sputtering tallow candles. The shiny black Urgle horns, their twisted span as great as his outstretched arms, were mounted over the door. The bar was long and low, with a stack of staves on one end for customers to carve. Morn tended the bar, his sleeves rolled up to his elbows. The bottom half of his face was short and mashed, as if he had rested his chin on a grinding wheel. People crowded solid oak tables and listened to 2 traders who had finished their business early and had come in for beer. Morn looked up from a mug he was cleaning. "Eragon! Good to see you! But where's your uncle?" "Buying," said Eragon with a shrug. "He's going to be a while." "And Rowan, where is he?" asked Morn as he swiped the cloth through another mug. "Yes, no sick animals to keep him back this year." "Good, good." Eragon gestured at the 2 traders. "Who are they?" "Grain buyers. They bought everyone's seed at ridiculously low prices, and now they're telling wild stories, expecting us to believe them."